The Devil State of Mind podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's something you'd love to learn? As an adult, do you make time to learn new things as often as you like, or was that lost in childhood? Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What's something you like to learn? Gardening, a new language, or maybe how to finally beat your best friend in bowling? Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back to school era can come at any stage. And I've benefited so much from therapy. It has been nothing short of just a lifesaver for me, just an opportunity to speak freely and to really just, hash out everything that's going on in my world. And it really, really is amazing. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, I would highly recommend to give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. All you have to do is rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp and visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. And what is going on, Devils fans? It is, as always, your host, your best friend, your confidant, your number one source, Neil Villapiano. And welcome to a season preview edition of the Devil State of Mind podcast, right here on the Hockey Podcast Network, as well as SportsWire Radio. The best place to get everything you need to know about your now official 2024-25 new Jersey Devils. And as always, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check these episodes out. You already know that I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. And as always, shout out to all of our lovely sponsors down below. You got SeatGeek, you got DraftKings, and of course, you have BetterHelp as well. And guys, this is going to be a pretty quick episode, I think, today. I'm not going to go into major details, but obviously I wanted to come on here and give you guys a quick preview of the 2024-25 Devils season. And guys, you're listening to this on the day of the first game of this season. I'm recording this the night before, but you guys are listening to this on October 4th. It is finally here. The 2024-25 New Jersey Devils season is kicking off with the back-to-back games in the Global Series over in Prague, Czechia, as the Devils take on an old friend in Lindy Ruff and the Buffalo Sabres to get things going. I will be live on the Hockey Podcast Network's YouTube channel, THPN, for a awesome live watch-along of the Devils game tomorrow, or if you guys listen to this on Friday, today at 1 p.m. Eastern, and I will be doing that game. I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited for this season to get underway. And as always, guys, we have a bunch to get to here on the Devil State of Mind podcast. So let's not waste any more time and get rolling. So let's look at this upcoming season. First and foremost, I'll say this right off the bat. I'm literally recording this just as the final Devils preseason game is getting underway. The Devils are in Philadelphia against the Flyers, and either they will finish the preseason with 2 wins or 1. And I will say that I've been really impressed with the Utica / Adirondack / PTO guys the last couple of games. It's been actually kind of fun to watch them go out there and compete against mostly NHL rosters, for the most part, and really kind of proving themselves in many different ways. Shout out to Jeremy Brodeur earlier this week as he got the start and played the full 60 minutes as the Devils won their first and so far only preseason game. Jeremy Brodeur was less than 90 seconds away from a shutout, but it was nonetheless a great performance by him. He'll most likely be down with the Adirondack Thunder to start the season. And then the Devils had a game in which they almost came back and at least forced overtime, but ultimately lost 5-4 to the New York Rangers a couple days ago. And then, like I said, at the time of this recording, literally it's 7 o'clock on the dot right now. The Devils are just about ready to get underway in their final preseason game. And then obviously, tomorrow's the big one with the Devils opening up the season in Czechia against the Buffalo Sabres. And the other thing I'll say that really stood out to me was Kevin Labanc, who signed a PTO earlier, right before training camp, and he has done very, very well. He comes into tonight's last preseason game with 3 goals in his last 2 games. He had 2 goals in the 5-4 loss to the New York Rangers, and I think that he's given himself a very good shot of making this team and being on this team once they come back from Czechia. I would not be surprised if he did. He's played very, very well, and I think could be an asset to this Devils team, bringing him some more just depth, some scoring depth for sure. And obviously, he does have experience playing with a couple of guys, in particular, Timo Meier. So that's kind of somebody that's really stood out to me in terms of these young guys. You know, Brian Halonen has actually had a good game, a couple of good games. I think he ended up with 2 goals as well in that 5-4 loss. There was also 4 fights in that game. It was one of the most absurd preseason games that I have seen in quite some time. But going to this team, the main team, there's so much excitement with it. You know, you have a brand new head coach in Sheldon Keefe. You have a bunch of new guys and also some returning guys as well. You know, Brett Pesce looks like there's a good shot he'll be available for the home opener next Thursday. So that's a positive. He's not with the team in Czechia. He's been skating with the rest of the squad that's been back here in Jersey, and it sounds like he's getting close. As far as Luke Hughes is concerned, with what Tom Fitzgerald said, looks like he's still about 5 to 6 weeks away from being ready. So again, the timeline kind of looks at early November by the time we'll see him. And only missing 10 to 12 games is not too bad. It could have been a lot worse, honestly. But again, you bring in a guy like Brett Pesce, you bring in Brendan Dillon, you trade and bring in Paul Cotter, you know, Kovacevic, you bring back Stefan Nason and Tomas Tatar, and we will have an NHL debut tomorrow because it was announced earlier today that Seamus Casey will be in the lineup for tomorrow's game. So he'll be making his NHL debut. Had a really, really strong training camp. And I don't want to knock on him making the team and saying, well, if Luke Hughes and Brett Pesce were healthy, you know, would Seamus Casey be on the team? It doesn't matter right now. The point is that Seamus Casey had a really, really strong camp, and he's going to get this opportunity. Is it most likely that by the time Pesce and Luke Hughes come back that he'll be sent down to Utica? I think it's very likely, unless Casey comes in and has a phenomenal start to his rookie year, which could make things tough, make things very, very tough. But we will burn that bridge when we get to it. But nonetheless, there's so much to say. You have Jacob Markstrom now with Jake Allen. You have a pretty, I think what could be a very, very solid goaltending tandem between these two veteran netminders. And I've said it before, it's crazy to think about 365 days ago, we had Vitek Vanacek and Akira Schmid as our 2 goaltenders. Fast forward to now, it's Jacob Markstrom and Jake Allen, and you have Vitek and Akira on 2 different teams out in the Western Conference in the same division, I might add. And I'll be curious to know if Schmid and Vitek ever play against one another in a game this upcoming season or moving forward. But nonetheless, there's a lot to be excited about. And you have, obviously, guys returning from injuries, Jack Hughes, Dougie Hamilton, and you have all these guys coming back. This is an exciting top 6. You re-signed Dawson Mercer. You look at this top 6 in general, right? And you clearly are looking at a team that is going to be a lot about speed. I think you can definitely make the argument that this is the best defensive unit that Sheldon Keefe has ever coached. And without question, I think this is the best goaltending tandem he's ever coached as well. So the thing that is really exciting when you look at it as a whole is that this is a team that is also coming into this very, very motivated. They're very motivated to want to prove that last year was a fluke, that they want to turn this thing around, that they don't want to let a season like we had last year really put them, really define them, basically, is the way I'm looking at it. And when you look at the lineup when you look at the lines from practice earlier today for the Devils in Czechia, this is what we had, and I'll just read it off to you guys. So you had Timo Meier, Jack Hughes, and Jesper Bratt as your first line. Second line was Tatar, Hischier, Mercer, which is not surprising. Palat, Haula, Nason as your third, and then Cotter, Lazar, and Bastian. The meat line, as it's now becoming, is your fourth line. And then you had Nolan Foote, Bowers, and McDermott as that extra forward line. And then the defensive with the top six, it's going to be Dylan and Hamilton, Siegedal or Kovacevic, and then Casey and Simon Nemec. So a very young third pairing right there. And then Colton White and Nick DeSimone were that other pairing. And then again, Markstrom, Jake Allen, and Nico Daws as well. And the NHL allowed the Devils to have a little bit bigger of a roster and carry 3 goaltenders for at least the first 2 games. So that's good because technically speaking, until tomorrow, the Devils are still in training camp. There's going to be other moves that will probably be made. Guys like maybe Colton White and maybe DeSimone, we'll see, unless the Devils decide to carry 7 defensemen. And then, in all intents and purposes, Nico Daws will be with the Utica Comets by this time next week for sure. Unless something happens, which, knock on wood, we really hope that nothing with injuries happens. But nonetheless, I'm really looking forward to this season. Here are a couple of things that I'm going to keep my eye on this year. Number one, the last couple of years, Sheldon Keefe has not gotten off to the fastest of starts, but he's ended up with really good seasons, well over 100 points. So I would say to everybody, don't be fully surprised or shocked if the Devils get off to a slow start. Remember, in the couple of games that a lot of the starters played in, they didn't look all that great because you're learning a new system, a different style of play, and that's where you're looking for it. So for me, it's going to be one of those things where you have to try to be patient. And I know that's hard because of just where, what our expectations are, and you don't want to have another slow start to a year. But at the same time, it's a process. And for the Devils, it's going to be about just learning how to play in this system over time, and they're going to get it going. I feel very, very confident in that. I'm really curious to see with the offensive style that Sheldon Keefe wants to play, how much that positively affects the guys like Jack Hughes and Bratt and Timo and Nico and all those guys. Really curious. Now with the defensive units, I really am hoping that this is a defensive unit that is focusing a bit more on that defensive side, blocking shots, being physical overall. And I want to see that as well from the bottom 6 on the forward group as well. And then lastly, I really want to see if Jacob Markstrom can live up to the hype that is around him going into this year. I think for once we have some stable goaltending here. We have one of the better goaltenders, I think, honestly, in the league right now. A guy who, comes in and he's great especially when it comes to high danger chances. This is a guy that has shown Vezina-like skills in the past. He is getting up there in age, so there is that question. But I would argue that a lot of the successful netminders of the last couple of years in the playoffs have been guys well into their 30s. Look at Sergei Bobrovsky last year. So that's an example right there. So the bottom line is that there's something to look at with every part of this team, every unit. And I want to see how the new guys mesh with the team that we already have. And I think that overall, it's just a team that I think we're going to really like. I think it's going to be a team that's going to be a lot tougher to play against. I've mentioned it numerous times here on the podcast that this is a more playoff built ready team. And I think that even if they get off to a slow start, they're going to be in an okay position. And a couple of other things I want to look at as well. Can Jack Hughes stay healthy? Obviously, dealing with that shoulder injury last year and missing a bunch of time affected him after a really hot start to last season. He needs to find a way to stay healthy. And that can be said for literally everybody on this team. We got to find a way to stay healthy as best as we can. We've already had a bunch of injuries to other guys, in the Utica system, especially guys like Santeri Hadaka and other guys left and right as well. And I'm really hoping, and again, with Brett Pesce and Luke Hughes already being out with injuries and things like that, you're just hoping that there's no massive injuries as the season gets underway here and that this team protects itself, both from staying healthy, but also standing up for itself and not being afraid to be physical. Become an intimidating team. Become a team that other teams look out on the schedule and say, oh gosh, this is going to be a drag it out game, isn't it? This is going to be a pain in the ass team to play against. Like, that's what I want to see from this Devils team. I want to see them be that way. And I think that they're built that way from what we've made. And I think also Sheldon Keefe has learned a lot from his time with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Overall, and I mentioned this earlier, the best thing about this team is how motivated they are. From top to bottom, everybody has something to prove. Everybody is getting criticized left or right. This is the time to prove a lot of those naysayers wrong. Go out there and start beating on teams. Not just physically, but certainly on the scoreboard as well. This is probably one of the best overall balanced Devils teams I've seen in a long time. And this is a team that can do a lot of damage if they get to the playoffs. And that's going to be the first step. First step is getting to the playoffs and then going from there. They got to bounce back. And they're probably the best bet. And if you want to place really, your best bets, go to DraftKings right now and use promo code THPN. Bet $5, get $200 instantly in risk-free bets. But they are the best bet to get back into the playoffs. And that's exciting. In terms of predictions, I did this earlier today. I'm going to say that the Devils end up finishing second in the Metro behind the New York Rangers. Because again, I don't think the Devils are going to be looking at trying to win the President's Trophy or doing anything like that. I think they're going to have some moments where they're going to look like that they're struggling, but that they're learning a new system. They might get off to a slow start, as mentioned before, but the bottom line is to be as prepared and ready to go once we get to that playoffs. And I still think they're going to have a really successful season. There's going to be a lot of really, really awesome memories that we're going to have for this year. And I'm expecting this to be just the beginning of what should be a long season, hopefully well into May and maybe even June, if we're lucky, for this New Jersey Devils team. And I would love nothing more than by the time you guys, we get back together. Well, you'll see me throughout the year, but when we get together in June, that we're celebrating potentially Stanley Cup Devils championship. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not going to look at it like I did last year and say this team is going to go win the cup this year, blah, blah, blah. The first thing is get back into playoffs and make some noise again. Become that intimidating team. Teams like we saw with like Florida and even the Rangers to an extent and the Dallas Stars and all these guys, like become one of these teams that people don't want to play against and are going to have a tough time against every single night. That's what I want to say. And so bottom line for me here as I wrap this up is I think that we are in for one of the most exciting seasons for the New Jersey Devils. And I'm not saying that just because of, everything that we got going on, but I really believe that this team is ready to take that next major step towards winning that ultimate Stanley Cup. And I think that they're getting there. And it starts tomorrow afternoon in Czechia, Andre Palat's home country, against Lindy Ruff and the Buffalo Sabres. Time to make a statement in front of a national and international stage right away. It would be great if the Devils can come out of this global series taking both games before their home opener against Sheldon Keefe's former team in the Toronto Maple Leafs next Thursday. This is the time. I think this is the Devils' time, and I am so excited to get this season underway. I'm so excited to kick off this new season of Devil's State of Mind podcast with you guys. I have so many awesome and exciting things coming up that I cannot wait to share with you guys as well on social media, as well here on the podcast. And as always, guys, I appreciate all the support that you guys give me from checking me out here on YouTube, as well as also on Spotify, Apple, and anywhere you listen to podcasts as well. And so once again, guys, get ready for what should be an exciting season of New Jersey Devils hockey. Woo! NFL Week 1 is here, and a new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Ready to place your bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown. Or if you just want to pick who wins and who loses, you can absolutely do that as well. And you can score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the best place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling problem. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.com/football. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.